Hi, my name's Firdauz, personal trainer at TSquared Labs. Today, I'll be talking about the squat, a great exercise for overall leg development. There are 3 variations that I'll be covering today: back squat, front squat, and some substitutions, namely the leg press or hack squat. So, without further ado, let's go. You know what they say, if you don't squat, you don't know squat about leg training. Let's go. So, this is what you'll need to start off with your back squats. You'll need a barbell, you'll need a power rack, of course you'll need some weight plates. And I'm going to describe 2 things. Number 1, how to set up this exercise, and number 2, how to execute this exercise. Okay, just the basics first. This is a standard Olympic barbell. It is 20 kilos. Don't forget to count that in the weight that you're lifting whenever you record your progress. We have safety pins here as well, so that if you ever get stuck at the bottom of a squat, you can safely release the bar and the safety pins will catch it. You'll never get stuck or stapled by the squat at the bottom of the rep. So now, without further ado, I'm going to demonstrate how to set up a squat. Ordinarily, I would face the mirror, wrap my hands around the bar, and set up this way so that I can push up against the rack, but for demonstration purposes, I'm going to be facing away from the mirror. Place your hands on the bar in an even space from the center. So I would put the ends of my thumbs on the knurling, which is the division between the rough surface and the smooth surface. Wrap my hands around the bar. Place the bar on my traps. Unrack. Step forward, or actually I would usually step backwards, but in this case I'm stepping forward. Have my feet in a slightly wider than hip width stance. Toes pointing out at 11 and 1 o'clock. Okay, this is my setup. How I execute the movement. First thing I do is I take a deep breath of air into my torso, tense my abs, break at the hips and knees at the same time, go as low as I can go while staying upright, push through the balls of my feet, stand up straight, squeeze your quads and glutes at the top. Okay, once you're done, walk all the way into the rack, squat down, return the weight back to the rack. Okay, so when you do this exercise, what is the reason or purpose for breathing in that deep breath of air in whilst you do the exercise? There's a lot of confusion as to when to breathe during a squat. So let me clear that up right now. So what you want to do is create intra-abdominal pressure, which essentially means filling your torso up with air so that you can keep it rigid and prevent it from moving when you do your squat. This is especially important on an exercise like this because it compresses your spine, and any movement could be potentially very dangerous and cause a horrible injury like a slip disc. Second point to note, where do you put your bar on your traps or back? So there are 2 main positions to rack the bar on your back. Number 1 is high bar, number 2 is low bar. So I'll just quickly demonstrate what those are. So high bar is what I just demonstrated with the bar on your traps, whereas low bar is with the bar lower down on your body on your rear delts. Okay, so how do you know which bar position to use? So high bar is the more natural bar positioning. Low bar allows you to load more weight onto the bar and still be more stable. Okay, so who would want to use a low bar position? Powerlifters, because the squat is a competition lift in powerlifting, and by being able to put on more load and support that in a more stable manner, they're able to lift more weight and therefore do better at their sport. However, if your goal is solely hypertrophy, a high bar squat would be sufficient, and it is a lot more natural. Other considerations you want to make when doing the squat is how upright your torso is. So that is ultimately dictated by 2 things: your bar position, whether it's high bar or low bar, and number 2, your torso length and limb length. So if you are squatting with a high bar squat, meaning that the bar is high on your traps, your body is going to be a lot more upright. Whereas if the bar is lower down on your rear delts in a low bar position, your torso is going to be bent forward even more. So I'll give you an example. So high bar squats. Your body is nice and upright. Whereas for a low bar squat, in order to keep the bar over your midfoot, your hips have to go back a lot more. Okay? The last thing I want to go through is range of motion. So how deep do you need to go in a squat? You know, a lot of people always say you gotta go ass to the grass, which means butt as close to the floor as possible. Is that the right range of motion for everybody? No. We have something called active range of motion, which is the range of motion. Basically what that means is the range of motion that you can execute with your muscles still being in control without any form breakdown. So most people can't go ass to the grass because their lower back would round. That's what we call the butt wink, the infamous butt wink. Other people, their heels will come off the floor because of a lack of ankle mobility. Whatever the case may be, if form starts to break down, you're going beyond your active range of motion. So stay within your active range of motion. I'll give you an example. So for the butt wink, a lot of people, as they descend into the squat beyond a certain point, they round their lower back. We don't want to go to that point. So the active range of motion would be stopping just prior to that happening. Okay, the other common form breakdown would be for the heels to come off the floor because of a lack of ankle mobility. So again, if that happens to you, don't go to that point. Stop just prior to that happening and finish the squat. Our second exercise that we're going through is the front squat. So I'll cover the setup and the execution. First of all, setting up, getting into the starting position. There are two ways to grip the bar. So number one is called the clean grip. So I'm going to get behind the bar to demonstrate. For the clean grip, okay, have your hands slightly wider than shoulder width apart. Place the bar behind your shoulders, behind your front delts. Rest the bar on your front delts, elbows up. Okay? A lot of people don't have the wrist mobility to fully wrap their entire hand around the bar. So it's quite common for people to have their pinky fingers out and only wrap their thumbs and their fingers around the bar. Okay? If you do not have the sufficient wrist mobility to do that, there's another grip called the cross grip. So same bar placement behind the front delts. Place your hands in a cross fashion across the bar, elbows up. Same concept, you are resting the bar on your clavicle, not supporting it with your hands. So those are two ways to grip the bar. Second thing is execution. So unlike a back squat, your front squat is going to be far more upright and your knees are going to track far more beyond your toes. Okay, so I'll give a demonstration. After you set up, chest up, body upright, break at the knees, let them track as far beyond the toes as possible, staying as upright as possible, push through the balls of the feet, stand up straight, squeeze your quads. All right, now that I've shown you what to do, let me tell you what not to do. Okay, so the common mistakes with the front squat, I would say, namely are, number one, letting the elbows drop. So once the elbows drop, the bar is going to fall forward. Why do the elbows drop? Usually this is due to fatigue in the spinal erector muscles here on your back that is responsible for keeping your back straight and upright. Second thing is you need a lot more ankle mobility for this exercise because the knee track further beyond the toes. So if you have an issue with the heels coming up, again, this is going to be a challenging exercise, which means that you would either want to truncate the range of motion to your active range of motion or find an alternative movement. Okay, talking further about programming considerations with your front squat. You want to program it similar to your back squat because it still uses the entire body musculature. So it is still very fatiguing. You would want to put it near the front of your workout, either as your first or second exercise. Be aware that it uses the spinal erectors, this muscle over here, which is responsible for keeping your upper back straight, a bit more than back squats. So in the event that you're going to be doing any exercise that uses the spinal erectors, such as deadlifts or bent over rows, for example, after this exercise, either that session or the day after, expect a loss in performance. Okay, just manage your expectations. It's not a bad thing, especially if your goal is solely hypertrophy. Without further ado, I'm going to demonstrate this exercise with some weights. So some accessories you can use to assist with your squat are wedges. This will help you to prop your heels up in the event that your ankle mobility is too poor to execute a full squat without your heels coming up. So you can prop these underneath your heels and keep your feet stable while you do your squat at full knee flexion. If you do not have wedges, you can put small weight plates underneath your heels to act as a substitute. Another piece of assisting equipment we can use is a weightlifting belt. So you take a deep breath of air in as you do your squat to keep your torso rigid and keep your spine safe. This will actually help you to do just that. Take a deep breath of air in, push your core into the belt, and the belt does the rest. There's plenty more. Actually, another one that's very common is the Olympic weightlifting shoe. And this is all something I'll cover another day. So look forward to that. Stay tuned. So there are some substitutions you can make as alternatives to the squat. In the event that you want to reduce your load on your spine, your lower back feels fatigued, and you have some injuries that don't allow you to squat. So one is the leg press behind me, and the other is the hack squat right over here next to me. So I'll give a quick demonstration as to how these look like, and let's get started. Thank you all for watching. I hope you learned something about the squat exercise and the alternatives you can use to a squat, as well as training your legs in general. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Stay tuned for more.